What's good, y'all? It's your guy Makai. Welcome back to my channel. Make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're new, make sure you subscribe. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers, and every subscriber helps. Over here on this channel, we talk about the NBA. So if you enjoy the NBA as much as I do, please subscribe. I know I haven't uploaded in a long time, but we're gonna get back into the swing of things like we never left. So, the NBA Finals is happening right now, so I'm just going to give my thoughts on, what's been happening schematically, what I think is going to be, the outcome of this series, and just, things like that. So to start off, the way that Golden State has been guarding Jason Tatum has been really good outside of, like, the first two games, because I felt like in the first two games, they were really bringing a lot more help than Jason Tatum, than is required for Jason Tatum, because they're bringing help from, the weak side corner when he's driving. They're bringing help, one pass away, and from the weak side corner, just doing things like that. And I feel like they were just making the passing reads too easy for Jason Tatum. He left that game with like 13 assists. So, and then in game two, when they continued to do that, I was a little nervous, but they wound up winning that one. But just the way they were guarding Jason Tatum at first was really, icky to me. But then game three and beyond, I feel like they just became more smart with how they're guarding him. They're not bringing so much attention to him. They still bringing, a necessary amount of attention, I feel. But it's really just, one pass away. And it's not just a whole group of guys, trying to stop Tatum from going to the rim. Because if you look at Tatum historically, his rim finishing is not that great. And he also seems to have a little shoulder issue. I think he had a stinger injury when he played against Miami. So maybe that's, playing a factor. But in this series, Jason Tatum is only shooting 30% from two-point range. And I just think that, looking at those stats moving forward, you don't need to bring so much help toward Jason Tatum. And the Golden State Warriors have done that, very well. Andrew Wiggins has to be shouted out for just the amazing defense that he plays on, Jason Tatum. He really is a big body with, a lot of length. So he's challenging shots at the rim. He can take, the bumps whenever Jason Tatum tries to, post them up. And Draymond Green has been really great helping wise. Really, everybody on the Warriors has been doing a solid job on defense. They, like to hedge with Steph Curry. Even if Steph Curry is caught out there on the island, he is stocky and sturdy enough to not be a complete liability on that end. So I just feel like Golden State defensively, they have, one of the best team defenses in the league, probably second only to Boston. But the way they've just been guarding, Jason Tatum. And that the same goes for Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown, he's had spurts where he goes off for like, a bunch of points. He's had a lot of times where he's, cooking Draymond off the dribble. He's just making a lot of great shots off the dribble. He's not really shooting that great from mid-range as well. But mid-range, I think he's shooting about 30%. And at the rim, he's shooting better than Tatum is, but it's still nothing to, go crazy at. But I have the stats right here. Jaylen Brown is shooting, let me see. Jaylen Brown is shooting 30% from the three-point line, and he's also shooting 30% from the from mid-range. So he's not really doing a good job of, attacking. He's not really doing a good job scoring on his defense. And that's because his handle is kind of loose. So if you just bring help, and they've also been forcing him left, which I think is an underrated adjustment. Because before, they were just letting him do whatever he wanted, single coverage, whether it be with Draymond on him, with Klay Thompson on him. Klay Thompson's been great helping-wise as well. I feel like his defense has had, somewhat of a resurgence lately in this series. But just Jaylen Brown, they've been forcing him left. He's not really a great dribbler with his left hand. He's not really a great, tight ball handler at all. So they can force a lot of turnovers like that. And that's really been the name of the series for the Golden State Warriors. If you can force the Boston Celtics to turn the ball over, because let's be honest, the Golden State Warriors half-court offense has not been that great. Ime Udoka, the head coach of the Boston Celtics, he's been playing a lot of dropping Steph Curry. It's really been a controversial type thing because you would think, oh, he's the greatest shooter of all time. You don't drop on this guy. But, he's been playing drop coverage on him, letting him get the pull-up threes and letting him do things like that. But that's only so Steph Curry cannot, create advantages for the rest of his teams. Because if you bring two to the ball on Steph Curry, his man, slides down into the short roll, and that opens up a bunch of opportunities for him to, get easy looks. So with Steph Curry playing him in drop, everybody else has to kind of create on their own. And I feel like that coverage has worked for the most part. And, game 4, when Steph Curry had, 43, you kind of have to live with shots like that because it's a good defense. It's very heavily contested threes. He has very little airspace, but you just kind of have to live with things like that. But I feel like the Boston Celtics defense has worked. And then in game 5, they kind of, overreacted. They said, we can't let Steph just, play and drop anymore. We can't trust him one-on-one. So then they started bringing more to the ball. And it started just, getting a lot of easy looks for Klay, getting easy looks for Draymond, getting easy looks for Wiggins. And the Golden State Warriors are at their most dangerous when they're getting a lot of production from everybody else on the floor. Steph Curry, sometimes you can't take away stars every game. So Steph Curry, he's going to do what he's going to do. I like the game plan in the first couple games. And not to say that he just completely went away from drop, because there were, a lot of drop possessions later in the game. But the thing about the Boston Celtics that frustrates me is that offensively, they just don't execute well for long periods of time. That seemed like a little harsh, but in this series, what really stuck out to me is that they'll go on a great defensive stand. They'll just see a lot of things that are working for them offensively, and then they'll just go away from that. Like Jason Tatum could be doing a lot of good stuff, from shooting from three. He's shooting 47% from the three-point line in this series, and he's just doing crazy things like that. And then they'll be like, okay, I think it's time for Marcus Smart to run some pick and rolls. I think it's time for Jaylen Brown to get some ISOs. And Jaylen Brown ISOs aren't the worst thing in the world, but when Jason Tatum has it cooking, or even, and vice versa, Jaylen Brown can have it cooking, they just always seem to go away from what's working. And I think that's really been burning them a lot. Because if you look at it, the only reason that they've been losing a lot of these games, they just turn the ball over so much. Like, they turn the ball over. Jason Tatum leads the playoffs in turnovers right now, and that's just the product of their offense. They've always been a turnover team. The Boston Celtics, they just don't have a super high level passer. They don't have these crazy high level ball handlers, so they do a lot of lazy passes, and that's a credit to Golden State's defense. They force Jason Tatum to help a lot of the time. They do a good job funneling him to the paint and just making him make those tough decisions in the air and just things like that. Like, Golden State forcing turnovers, that's when the offense is really, really dangerous, because in the half court this series, I think their offensive rating has been like 94, like nothing too crazy. But then, in transition, when after they force a turnover or after a missed shot in transition, they really get dangerous. They really get transition threes. They have a lot of smart passes. They have a lot of smart, off the ball movers, just guys like that. So I just think that if, Boston, it's easier said than done. But if Boston can just cut down on the turnovers, every time Boston, I saw this stat on ESPN the other day, every time Boston has over 16 or more turnovers, they most likely going to lose the game. They've only won one game when they've had 16 plus turnovers, and that was against Milwaukee with no Chris Middleton. So the name of the game for the Boston Celtics, take care of the ball. Don't go away from what's working. Let Tatum, create a lot of the stuff. But it's really just, Jason Tatum has to play better. It's really just that simple. He cannot shoot this poorly from two-point range and just shoot this well from three-point range and expect, a good outcome. I wouldn't say it's like the worst series I've ever seen from a star player in the finals, because, his playmaking has been really great. He's giving you 7 assists per game. So his playmaking has been really great. And he just needs to score more. He just needs to finish at the rim better, because I feel like a lot of point-blank shots he's missing. And whether that be, because of injury, of course it's going to be due in large part to Golden State's defense. Just, things like that. I think that's why Jason Tatum just is, he has too much of an offensive burden in this series. I don't think he was ready to really, carry an offense like this against such a defense that's giving him a lot of the attention. And then Jaylen Brown, I feel like he hasn't been doing what he's supposed to do, because he's not shooting that well from three. He's not shooting that well, overall. And, the bench players, they haven't really been giving you much. Al Horford had that random game one, but Grant Williams hasn't given you much. Peyton Pritchard hasn't given you much. Like, their bench just haven't given you a lot. Marcus Smart, he's hot and cold. He's up and down. But just what I think the Boston Celtics need to do in order to win these next two games, which is a tall task, because beating Golden State twice in a row is really, really tough. But if they can just cut down on the turnovers, and I'm not saying that Boston Celtics are guaranteed to win the series. I just believe they're going to win, because I do think that they're the better team. I think they're better built. I think they have more talent, especially offensively. But, and I think they're a better defense. But it's just the turnover. Just there's a lot of sloppy passes from Jaylen Brown, from Marcus Smart, from Jason Tatum, from, the guys who are supposed to be, carrying the load. But, to talk about Golden State, their offense has been really, really good. Andrew Wiggins has been, huge on the glass. He had 13 rebounds last game, 16 rebounds the game before. A lot of those rebounds being offensive. And, a lot of things that, are happening is because Robert Williams isn't 100%. And sometimes Robert Williams goes off the floor. Boston doesn't have the size to really battle with, Looney and Wiggins and Otto Porter Jr. sometimes and Draymond. They just don't really have the size, and they get a lot of second chance points. And I feel like Boston has to cut down on that as well. But You know, Draymond hasn't been having a great series. He's been great, you know, on defense. I feel like most of the games he's been doing a great job helping. He's been doing a great job, you know, pushing the pace in transition, just things like that. So, you know, Golden State, they are showing that they have, you know, a lot of experience, and Boston is showing that they cannot break those nasty offensive habits that we've seen, you know, the whole season from them. But I do think that Boston is the better team. I think Boston is going to prevail at the end of this series if they can just cut down the turnovers, and we just need more production from Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart as well. And if they can get some bench points, that would be a lot, you know, that would be welcome as well, because their defense in the half court is definitely working. Derek White has been great chasing those screens. Marcus Smart has been pretty good on defense. I think Derek White has probably been a little more impactful on defense, but it really just falls on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. If they cannot capitalize on the many, many stops the Celtics get, if they keep turning the ball over, if they can't get the offense into a, you know, a nice natural flow, I just don't think they're going to win this series. But I think they're capable of doing these things, and that's why I put my confidence in, you know, the Boston Celtics. But, you know, I guess we'll see, you know, next week. So if you see that in this video, thank you. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.